Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Japa podcast. I'm Victor, and like you already know, on this podcast, we discuss the lived experiences of Nigerians in the diaspora. Like every other episode, I always have a guest, and on this episode, I have a beautiful lady who is my guest for this episode. So I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Ella. I am 23 years old and I'm studying software engineering, and I currently live in Germany. Yeah.
Alright, nice to have you here, Ella.
Thank you, finally.
Finally, yes,
Yeah.
because we talked about this like 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah, exactly.
But of course, you were writing your exams at the time,
Yeah.
so we had to take time, and finally we are doing this.
Yeah.
So Ella and I met in at the bus station.
Yeah, the bus station here.
Yes, we met at the bus station, and we exchanged contacts, and then we've been in touch ever since. So, Ella, how have you been? What have you been up to? What's been going on with your life?
Currently?
Yes.
Well, not much is going on.
Okay.
I think my life is boring, aside the fact that I'm a student.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really do much. I mean, sometimes I meet up with my friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I don't think I've been up to much lately.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's typical. Especially during the academic session, you just have to focus on school.
Yeah.
Because most of the times, the way the school system runs here, you hardly ever get chance to do any other
You have
thing.
to be like on your 10 toes.
That's the best way to describe it. You have to be on your 10 toes. So, how did your journey to Germany start?
Well, I came here in November 2015.
Okay.
I came on a family visa, so I came with my siblings, and yeah, my dad basically did the whole visa thing for us. It took, I think, 2 years for us to, from the moment he said
Told you
that.
about it.
Yeah, so it took around 2 years for us to actually
Get the visa.
get the visa. It was very smooth. We just had to go to the consulate, to the German consulate in Nigeria. We did the interview. I was asked some questions which I've actually forgotten about most of the questions I was asked. But one question I still remember was she was asking me how I intend to learn German when I come here.
Yeah.
And I can't even remember what I answered to that question. But yeah, that's the only question I remember. And I also remember that we had to do DNA test
Okay.
to
Confirm that your father is
Yeah.
indeed your father.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think I think the German consulate is the only consulate that does this, because I haven't had it from other people.
Do you know I'm shocked?
Why are you sure?
Because you've never mentioned this to me, and I've never heard it before.
I think that's the standard for
So
like
what if
the
it's an
German visa.
adopted child?
I think there's
A different documentation for
yeah.
it.
There's a different documentation for it, but I personally think it's wild, to be honest.
It
Because
is wild.
I mean, I've had stories of people only finding out through that process that they actually know the father of the
It
kid.
is wild.
But I think German consulates are the only ones that do this. I've never had it from people going to the US or the UK. Yeah.
I mean, you can see that my mouth has been open since you said it.
Really?
Because I know the embassies ask very weird things.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to Austria, they asked us for proof of singlehood? I can't remember how they phrased it, but basically a certificate that proves that you are single. This is me. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, definitely this is not going to be a compulsory thing. But of course, I started asking around.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Ireland. I was seeking information about, anyone who has done the process to be sure it's a requirement.
Yeah.
And indeed, it was a requirement.
Yeah, some of the requirements are
How do I get a
ridiculous.
certificate to just confirm that I'm a single person? You know how I eventually got it?
How?
I went to the courts. I heard you have to get it from the court. I went to the High Court, and the person I met at the High Court didn't seem surprised. It's the way he acted. I'm like, definitely people come to get this all the time. That's the weirdest thing I've had to do in terms of visa. Now you're talking about doing a DNA test.
Yeah, that one. We also did that one, like DNA test. Yeah. We came here November 2015.
Okay.
And to be honest, I think I've forgotten most of the things that happened.
I can imagine.
But I remember that when we came, it was a very cold day. It was really, really cold. And we got home. I was very tired. To be honest, I'm trying to recall like just, little things that happened then. And then I think the next thing we did was, for my siblings, they had to register in schools. But for me, and since I already had my WAEC, and that's one thing I did. Like before I came, I think months before I came, I was already researching about how to go to uni, how is the educational system.
Yeah.
So I was already on that mindset of, as soon as I come, language, I just have to like be on that
process,
path.
Yeah.
I mean, I had people telling me to go through the normal education route here, like go back to their secondary school. But I already had my WAEC, so
there was no need for that too.
So I said to myself, well, there was no need for that. That I think it's better for me to just follow the process if I already have my WAEC. So I learned the language from 2015 till 2017. That was 2 years. And then afterwards, I had to start the process of like
applying for schools,
like going to uni. So I had to do A levels again. I did that one for like 1.5 years.
Okay.
And afterwards, I started studying. That's basically what I did, because if you already have your WAEC, you have to just do like the A levels, and then you can start studying afterwards. But if I didn't do the A levels and just decided to go back to the secondary school, it would have taken a while.
It would have taken longer.
Yeah, for me to start studying. Yeah, basically, that's what happened.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, and another interesting thing you mentioned was how long it took for the whole process. You said 2 years. You know, when I was planning to travel, I remember reading somewhere, because usually when I want to do anything, I start doing research. So I was trying to understand how long it was going to take me on a norm to be able to process my visa. And I remember reading from somewhere that it takes a minimum of 18 months to travel from whenever you make the decision to travel and the time you travel. It takes a minimum of 18 months.
Yeah.
And this writer, I remember the writer was a foreigner. So I remember sitting down to think that if that was the case from a foreign person perspective, that means from an Africans, it might take longer time.
Yeah.
And I know I have friends who took 3 years.
Even now, it takes longer because
there are more people trying to travel.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. So you've already captured how you came here and how you had to go through the school system. But I'm curious, up until the time you got to know that you're planning to travel, was that something you wanted to do? Being that, especially because your father was not always around, right? So was it something you were hoping to, or maybe at some point I was going to go and join my father, or was it after you were told you have to travel that you started thinking about it?
It was afterwards.
Okay.
Like, it was never really spoken about. I mean, my dad has always talked about, like, he wanted us to go to uni abroad. But aside that, it wasn't really a thing of everyone is leaving Nigeria. It was a thing of, oh, you might study abroad. I wasn't even thinking about it. Like, it was just from the moment he said, okay, I'm going to bring you guys here. That was when it started becoming reality for me that, oh, I'm actually going to leave this place someday. Yeah.
So when you got to learn about it, how did it feel for you?
For the average Nigerian,
you were excited.
I was excited. I was very, very excited. I started researching about the whole country. But I was so much focused on the educational aspect and the language. That was two things I mostly researched on, to be fair. I was very, very, very excited about leaving, to be honest. I was very excited.
But I imagine that being that you are young, you could have been considering your friends. Was that anything you considered at any point? Your relationship with your friends, how you miss them?
Yeah, to be fair, like, I'm someone that I didn't have a lot of friends back then. And even now, I still don't. I'm just someone that, I don't know.
Reserved?
Yeah. So my friends, I'm not gonna lie, you know this Nigerian thing where if you want to leave Nigeria, you just keep it to yourself. My mom forced us to do exactly the same thing.
Okay.
So I didn't tell them until I got the visa. That was when I was like, yeah, I'm actually leaving. Like, until I got the visa, I didn't tell them. So when I got the visa, I think in July 2015, and we left Nigeria in November 2015. So when I got the visa was when I started telling them. And even my mom was against me telling them at that time. She wanted them to know when I left Nigeria.
Okay.
But I had to tell them because I just...
You respected your friends.
Yeah. So I had to tell them that, I'm actually leaving Nigeria.
Did your mom exactly explain why she didn't want you to tell them?
Village people.
Really? She said something like that?
Yeah, something like that. She said something along the line of, you don't want... that you don't know what people's intentions are. But I never really believed in stuff like that.
I hear that on Twitter. People saying village people. That's
and they won't tell you.
But it never sounded real to me.
It's
never
reality.
Sounded real to me. I mean, it's not because I don't exactly believe in jazz, but even if I did, I wouldn't have thought that's enough reason to protect what I'm doing for my friends. Obviously, when I was traveling, I didn't go and announce I was traveling. Till now, I have people that didn't know I've traveled. But it's the fact that the people that matter to me, the people I know that I was going to miss, all of them knew. See, I'm working on traveling. I've started considering school. Even when I met someone and it felt as if we were going to start a relationship, I was like, this will not happen because I am planning to do this. So anybody that I come across that I know I'm going to get close to a certain way, I let them know until I eventually traveled. There was never a part of my mind where I'm thinking, no, I'm not going to tell anybody because village people. So when I see it on Twitter, I'm always like, village people?
Yeah.
And some of these people are your friends.
Yeah, like, honestly, personally, I don't think it's right. I think it's morally wrong to not tell your friend that you are traveling and them having to find out on your social media.
It's rude.
it's very rude.
And disrespectful.
And the fact that people want, like, Nigerians who do that, they try to defend it like, village people. I'm like...
Okay, I mean, let's even say village people. Now you have your visa. The least you could do is...
tell them.
See, brother, sister, I'm traveling on so and so dates. I mean, my friends drove me to the airport. I mean, they didn't drive practically, but they were with me. There were supposed to be 3 of them that were supposed to take me to the airport. One of them was sick. So 2 of them, actually 4 of them, to be honest. One was sick, one had an appointment that he couldn't miss that came up on that day. So I had 2 of my friends with me in the Uber that drove me to the airport. And that's because this is something we were doing together.
Yeah.
I wanted to travel. I told them I'm looking towards to this. I got admission. Now I have an admission. So this is what I'm doing next. So I was bringing them along.
Yeah. I think that's the right way to do it.
Actually, the list of people I wanted to meet before I travel. Eventually, I didn't meet all of them, but I met some of them. Like, see, my visa just came through. We have to see because I have traveling in so and so date. So, like, if Saturdays, like 3 to 4 weeks before I traveled, I was meeting my friends almost every Saturday of it. Those I've not seen for a long time. Because I thought, I'm not going to see this person in a long time again. The least I could do is meet with them.
Yeah.
And that's because these people matter to me.
Yeah.
And I don't see the world where I'm going to pack my bag and travel without them.
And just travel without them. Like, it's as if you didn't even see them as your friend.
Because I see your friend, you can't even trust them.
Yeah.
Because I have friends, I think my friends, if I tell them I'm traveling, don't tell anybody. I mean, I don't assume they won't tell people.
They won't tell anyone.
Exactly.
It's
Because I
common
trust.
sense.
Exactly. Yeah. And if I have friends I'm thinking they can do things to jeopardize what I'm working on, they can't be my friends.
I agree with you.
See, I heard that we went on a rant about Nigeria, but it's actually quite interesting to really see that people really believed that people can jinx your plan just because you shared it with them. Well, but that's by the way. So, what was I even going to say? Now, I know you said you forgot most of the things that happened when you got here.
Yeah.
But at least what can you exactly remember about your first impression of Germany when you got in? And how did it feel so different from what you are used to back at
Well,
home?
my first impression was the fact that this togetherness you have in Nigeria, where neighbors know each other and everyone is living peacefully and harmony, it doesn't exist here.
At all.
It doesn't, and I'm used to that, and that's how I live now. Because I have friends in Germany, and when they move to Germany, they'll be like, oh, and they have been trying to make friends with Germans, but it's not working. And I'm like, get used to it. I'm sorry, but
You have to get used to it.
get used to it. That's how it is. There is no togetherness. Also, the language. It was, yeah, I wouldn't say the language was hard for me to learn, but the process of learning a new language and, yeah, it was, I don't know, it was a little bit stressful. And also the fact that I didn't have friends for the first few months.
Yeah, there was no way to practice.
Even though I pride myself around the fact that, oh, I love being alone. But sometimes you just need to hang out with your friend. Even if it's once a month.
Yeah.
I didn't have that for the first few months that I was here. I didn't really have that. And it kind of bothered me then. But I don't know. I think I just got used to that feeling. And yeah, you just mentioned something about not having someone to practice the language with. That's true. I don't know how I was able to overcome that, because they were telling me that I need to practice with someone. Who am I supposed to practice with? My siblings? Or because, I mean, we don't speak German at home.
Who speaks German in their home if you're not
We
German?
don't. My siblings are very good with the language now.
Yeah.
So I guess that kind of worked out for them because they were going to school.
True.
So
They didn't have a choice.
So for me, I don't even know how that worked out for me. I don't know how that worked out for me in the end. But I'm so glad it did, because I was afraid at some point because I wasn't practicing, the language. But yeah.
Interesting. I mean, you're doing a program that is taught in German language and you're succeeding. That's the biggest evidence that you need.
Yeah.
When you're looking for people
exactly.
that you can speak their language. For me too, I'm also trying to. I went back to learn again, and I told you I was going to start, and I still haven't found people I can practice with, in quotes. I mean, I actually don't feel very confident. That's even the big problem. I don't feel confident about the little that I know. Mm-hmm. So I don't even want anybody to hear me.
You just have to practice, not practice the language, but you just have to use the language. True. That's how you learn, or you have to talk.
Well, when I meet strangers in the shopping malls, I talk. But just
no matter how bad you think your language, just talk. I
think I'll start practicing more with you, maybe.
Yeah.
But of course, we text more than we speak.
Yeah.
And for me, I also think my written German is better than my spoken German. Because I've learned mostly by myself. Mm-hmm. I learned from Goethe Institute back in Nigeria. My A1 was at home. So we had classes once in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So you learn this from this chapter to this chapter within that 2 weeks. You discuss it in class in about 40 minutes. So mostly I was practicing on my own. Except the time I had physical interaction was when I did my A2. Mm-hmm. At that point I had a private tutor, but it wasn't just me. We were about 6, 7 or 8 of us. So we come together. That was the only time I had practice. After the A2, I went back to B1. I went to B1. I practiced all by myself too.
Yeah, something I did outside of you need to practice. What I also did back then was watching YouTubers that speak in German. I did that a lot.
How did that help you?
Hearing them speak, you pick up on some words, and also watching movies in German, reading books in German. That one. I actually have a friend that is learning German, and because I'm traveling to Berlin soon, I already plan to give her 2 books in German, because I feel like reading kind of also helps.
Yeah, for me too, because I know reading helps my English, and of course the TV. I wouldn't even deny that. I was that child. I was really in front of the TV and I was reading lots of literature, and I also thought I want to buy German literature to read, but I've actually not made up my mind about that. But I think I want to do that.
I'm going to give you an example now. I think it was on TikTok. I came across this girl. She was on a live video. She was speaking German, and I was able to pick up something she said in that video, and it has stuck in my head.
Yeah, that's how language works, to be honest.
Yeah, so I think actually one thing that really helped me was watching people
YouTube videos.
Speak German. Like, yeah.
I think I would have to consider that. And eventually, I know I've been saying I want to buy German books. I'll eventually buy them because it's not just about planning. So let's talk more about your friends back in Nigeria. So now you've left them. Did you ever maintain any sort of relationship with them? At what point did the relationship dynamic change?
Honestly, I think the friendship dynamic changed because I turned 16 when I came here. I turned 16 in October 2015, and then November 2015 I came here.
Yeah.
But also before then, I was already kind of like changing my mindset towards things. And when I came here, I realized that I can no longer be friends with them. It's not because I don't like them. It's just like the mindset is so
changed.
different. And it has nothing to do with the fact that they are in Nigeria. It's just the way things work that at some point you outgrow some friendships. And to be honest, I really tried to keep up with the friendships, but we were just on different page about things. We saw things differently. So I just thought to myself that, well, I don't think it's bad to let the friendships go. But I still maintain like 3 solid friendships with 3 friends in Nigeria, 3 of them. But the other ones, I just had to let them.
Apart.
Yeah, they had to fall apart because I couldn't deal.
I mean, to be honest, it happens with every friendship.
Yeah.
I know one thing is also when people talk about outgrowing friendship, people always make it look as if it means that you've got better than your friends.
No.
But in reality, it doesn't mean that you got better. It's just the fact that maybe the mindset has changed.
Yeah,
Sometimes it can also be the distance. There are some friendships that cannot survive distance.
Mm-hmm. Even with these 3 friends I'm trying to maintain, it's very, very hard to keep up communication because we are not here.
Yeah,
like
true.
I cannot easily meet them, so it's like I can easily forget them if I'm not trying to put in the effort to reach out to them and talk to them. Yeah.
For me, one of the reasons I've not changed my number, I think that was one of the first questions you asked me when we exchanged contacts, and I gave you a Nigerian number. Mm-hmm. I remember you asked me why I still have my Nigerian number. Mm-hmm. For me, it's a very intentional thing because I kind of I didn't want that change. Mm-hmm. Between my friends, because once I change my number, I'm going to lose a lot of contacts. There are a lot of people on my phone. I see their WhatsApp status. I still hit them up sometimes. If I change my phone, I know I've even texted them. Mm-hmm. Not because they are my enemies, but just because we're never that close.
Yeah.
But now that I still see them, we kind of still maintain that friendship, sort of. At least I still bump into them to say hi. You see their photos on their birthday. You say wish them happy birthday and stuff like that. There's sort of a relationship.
Yeah.
And then for me and my close friends, there was no need for me to even change any number.
Yeah.
And I intentionally call my friends as often as possible, just because I'm also thinking, yes, we are not here, but I have to be intentional about calling.
Yeah.
Calling, sending voice notes, anything I know that can actually kind of bridge the gap.
Yeah.
And it's not the easiest because, of course...
It's not very... Like, I struggle so much with it. Like, I struggle so much with keeping up with friendships in general because you actually have to put in work.
You have to be intentional.
You have to be intentional. Yeah. This keeping up with communication. Sometimes I just forget to hit off someone.
I don't know. And
I feel so bad when I need something and then I realize that I haven't hit them up in a while.
Okay, see, for me, when it happens, if you need someone, hit them up, even if you don't. That's my policy. And if they're going to come through for you, they'll come through for you. Because if someone is not going to come through because you've not hit them up, maybe they're not really that nice people you think they are. So now talking about when you came here, imagine there's a lot of pressure to adapt. I mean, from what you've said so far, it must have been a lot of pressure trying to adapt. And how much of that pressure did you, being that you are the oldest among your siblings that came here, do you also feel that pressure to help your siblings adapt? And how did you deal with the pressure yourself?
No, actually, it's very interesting because I think since I came here, I didn't even try to adapt with the whole culture here because I don't know, I never felt that pressure. I know some people talk about feeling that pressure, but I never did. I just wanted to make my own part for myself, For my siblings, no, I didn't have to. I don't know. I think they figured their own thing out because I just felt like they were young back when we came, but now they are a little bit older, and I've just realized that, well, I never really had to talk to them about anything. They kind of figured it out on their own, and I'm so glad they did. And I myself had to figure it out for myself. I mean, when I came here, I didn't really have friends. You get, so I didn't feel that pressure. When I talk to people who grew up here, I think what I've realized is if they have friends, like German friends, that's usually when they feel that pressure to like fit in. But I never felt that pressure.
Because you didn't have anybody you're trying to measure up to,
exactly,
or prove yourself
or
to.
prove myself to. And it's not like I didn't have the opportunity to have those friends. I'm just very bad at talking to people, like making friends, something. I'm still trying to figure this part out till today. So maybe I might meet them back then, I will just talk and I will never talk to them again. So when I was doing my A-levels, of course I made friends with some people, but I'm not friends with them anymore today.
Because also, okay, why do you think that happened?
I don't know, I don't think I'll ever fit in with them. That's the thing. I will never, ever, ever fit in with them. And it's very hard to find someone that, you know, they understand your struggle as a black person and you won't feel the need to tone down the way you talk about these social issues that involve racism and things like that. But because in my mind, I'm always like, it's not like I'm judging all of them, but it's just very hard to find that person that understands. It's also why, I mean, I wouldn't say I have some of them as friends. I mean, we talk, but it's not really...
You just can't connect with them.
I cannot connect with them. Level. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I totally understand it too, because, again, I don't think I've exactly become victim of racism. I wouldn't say so, but... Sometimes just hear them talk and they say certain things and you're like,
yeah, it just clicks for you that...
Someone I met today said I should teach them... Someone I met today offered to teach me offered to teach me German, so I'll teach them Nigerian. Nigerian being the language. And I'm there like, oh God, where do I start? Because it's like, first of all, I have to start teaching you what Nigerians don't speak Nigerian in the first place. So it's like, you meet people, you know more about Germany and Europe, and they don't even know anything about Nigeria.
Yeah.
And then the friendship becomes them asking you a lot about Nigeria. Sorry, I don't want to talk about Nigeria.
Yeah,
I'm so
exactly.
sorry, I do not want to.
And the fact that when I came here was also when I started researching about racism. I think I
got radical.
Oh my God, I was just, from then I started looking at them differently, like,
I know that feeling.
Yeah, so I never really, because when I go on Twitter, I see people talk about, when they were growing up, they felt the pressure to fit in. I never felt that, and I still don't. I still don't feel the need to be friends with them because I've just realized that it's very, very hard to connect with them because you have to realize that
they don't understand the experience.
And I don't understand theirs as well. So it doesn't, when my friends tell me, they find it hard to make friends with, I'm just like, get used to it. Like, look for other Nigerians. Build a community.
Feels familiar, at least to you. Yeah.
Like, I'm going to tell you about this. I met this black girl at my uni recently. And she told me that they were in a maths course. And the students, she's in her first semester. She just started studying. So she told me that they were making learning groups and they left her out. Like, they were all new students. Yeah. They didn't know each other.
But nobody approached her. Oh, goodness.
And also nobody wants to sit beside her during lectures. And I was talking about it with her and I told her that, see, this is something I've experienced, but I didn't take it to heart because I'm just like, well, whatever. I don't want to sit beside them too. Like, I'm someone that I feel like coming here and figuring things out on my own. It's just like, I'm on my own most times. It doesn't matter who is around me. Like, I need to figure this thing out.
Yeah.
So when she was telling me that, I told her that, hey, focus on your studies. Learn. Like, ignore these people. Don't
Don't give them any. Don't think too much about
Don't
it.
think. I told her that if she needs help, that she should reach out to me. But like, don't think too much about these things, because if you start thinking about it, it's going to affect you mentally.
Now that you even mentioned it, there's one of the tasks I did in last semester. The 2 people I had in my group, there were 3 people. They were just badly behaved, and at some point I'm wondering, is it because they're all girls and I'm the only guy? And at some point I was there thinking, is it because I'm African, or is it a combination of all 2? And I'm going to say this because
it's the
first time I was in a group and I'm saying something to a group, and it never happened in my entire life. I'm a member of a group and I say something, nobody is listening. So I say something, it's like they come armed to the teeth with reasons it cannot work. I was like, at first I thought maybe I was reading too much, but it's like anytime I say something,
like
they always have a reason why. I felt like it's
you always
just
know.
Me.
You always know, like it's like it's in your face that they are treating you this way.
But you know the thing is, because like it was shocking to me.
But you cannot even call it out because it's very subtle.
Because it's like so I'm like, Victor, have you thought about, very politely. So Victor, I'm thinking that it's a good thing you said, but I'm just thinking that this may not work because, so nobody said anything. But just like I've said, we are in a meeting, we've spent 2 hours, everything I said. And usually for me, whenever I feel that I'm not accepted, I just forget. Whatever is happening in that group is no longer my business. So what I did in that course was just, okay, there's a meeting, that's fine. I'll just come and join. What do you Victor, do this? Okay, is that what you want me to do this? Fine, I'm going to do it. Because I wasn't, and for me, it felt, I didn't even learn anything from the course. The course itself was not it's not like, it's generally it's a design course. I'm very bad at design. So I already knew the course was going to be hard for me.
Yeah. And
then having people that made it, working with them hard, I was like, but again, I'm thinking, what is the problem?
You just said something now, and it made me remember a paper I wrote last semester. So I have a friend in my course, right? Somehow we ended up in this same course where we have to write papers about a particular topic in computer science, and somehow we ended up with the same supervisors. And on the day of the presentation, because after writing papers you have to present what you found out from your research, my friend who is Turkish, she was telling me that, oh, our supervisor is very nice, oh, that she likes her. And in my head I'm like, wait,
I have the same supervisor.
I have the same supervisor, and she didn't treat me that the way she corrected me. I swear, I think I'm very resilient when it comes to like things like this. I'm very, very resilient. But I swear that it made me almost cry that day.
And the professor, I think, is very racist.
It made me almost, the way, it's not like she was calling me the N-word, but the way she was giving me correction. Because this paper, it was the second paper I've written. I know the first one. I know how you're supposed to give corrections, but it wasn't that way. It wasn't. Even on the day of the presentation, she ignored me, but she was talking to my friend in my face. Yeah,
I have a friend, a lecturer too from my program, I think is racist. I don't know, I mean, Michelle and Kenny just have a problem with the professor, so it's definitely not just me. And another Ghanaian colleague has a problem with her. Again, it's not just me.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they will use the word racist to describe her, but I just know that the way she talks, when she talks to people who are not white, the tone changes. And then it's not like that, like you said, it's very subtle.
You can't even call them out.
It's very subtle, so you're not sure.
Yeah, you're not sure.
Because actually the woman is kind of rude to everybody.
Yeah.
But just that the tone changes
you
a little bit.
These little things they do.
The little facial expression that is quite different. And you're like, at what point do I say something?
You can't even...
And when the results came out for the course, only Michelle had a good grade. I mean, we didn't fail it, but only Michelle had a good grade.
That one.
And in this course, Michelle and Kenny worked on the same task as group members. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, sometimes I'm grateful that I'm studying computer science. So most of our exams, you cannot grade people based on what, like there's only one right answer to the question. Yeah. So you cannot just fail someone. So sometimes, because my best friend, we have talked about this, and because she's also studying computer science and business, so we have talked about this, that imagine if we were studying other courses, because I've had stories, people from humanities and arts, I've had stories of, professors just failing them for no reason. It's not like they are not better than their white counterparts. They are even better than them. You do project, you see someone that messed up, getting a better grade than you. I've had stories, Victor, like...
See, I understand it. My friend in the US was mentioning, I see it's crazy, like a course he did, and he saw the result, he wasn't matched. And when he saw what other people did in that course... and even talking, do you know, my supervisor for my thesis, do you know one of these I chose her? Because I think she grades us more respectfully than other professors.
This thing you just mentioned now, I'm going to write...
Sorry to cut you short, not because I think, for the topic I'm researching, there's another professor I think is more grounded in the course. That would have been the ideal person. But from seeing how these people interact with me, interact during the class, interact during maybe little conversation outside of the class, and their grading, I'm like, first of all, as much as I believe I'm smart, I also have an idea of what I want my result to look like. If I'm going to achieve it, this woman would help me achieve it. And again, she's very good in research. Yeah. But then her expertise is not really the topic I'm working on. But even though I would rather work with her because I don't want anybody to mess my results up.
Victor, this thing you just mentioned is something, because I'm going to write my thesis next year. Okay. And I'm already making a list of professors I like that I think will grade me fairly. Even though to be honest, I've had pleasant experiences with my professors. Even though I talked about this supervisor, she's a supervisor. And the interesting thing, she's not white, but she's not black. She's a person of color. But the professor was very pleasant to me that day, that I was just very surprised. He was very pleasant to me that day. And he's white. I'm even thinking of writing my bachelor thesis there because he's very, very warm. He was very, very warm to me that day. But in my mind, I'm like, what if I'm assigned this same supervisor again?
I think thankfully I can choose my supervisor. Now that you mentioned it also, I think...
It's also something I have to consider, because I'm like, if you end up with someone that doesn't like you because you're black, they will mess up your grade. And you cannot say anything.
These biases, I don't think it's... sometimes I won't talk about these biases. It seems as if it's something people do consciously.
They don't do it consciously.
That's the thing.
They don't, actually.
It's not conscious.
It's not conscious, because I was not trying to sound like I was dismissive to the other black girl who told me that, they don't sit beside her. I told her that some of these things, I see it from a cultural and racist perspective, because you have to take into account that these people, they are white, and they will always
be white.
They will always be white and be with
gravitate to people
that are white,
the same
just
to them.
The same way.
And you see a black person, you gravitate towards them.
It doesn't mean I'm trying to be dismissive.
Exactly.
I still think it's racist, but
true, exactly. Like, that's the thing. And like the professor I told I'm working with my supervisor as for my thesis. Do you know this woman once asked me and Michelle if we needed assistance with a laptop? That if that's I can't remember what we're doing, but she felt, I don't know why she just concluded that maybe, I think we were late on delivering our task. I can't remember what the reason was. But me and Michelle worked on the same, but she asked us if the problem was because we don't have a device. And I'm like, from where to where? So this is 2022. You can almost do anything with your phone.
Yeah.
You can do almost anything with your phone.
There are internet cafes as well.
So it's like, why was that the first thing she thought about? But again, as I also told you, I think in terms of how she treats us, in terms of my interaction with people, with her, I feel the most warm. So it's like, that's a very... I don't think asking if we had a system was racist, but also know that it's that fact that she thinks Africans have to be poor.
Exactly.
Maybe you don't have the devices to be able to...
Yeah.
Like... So I think this
is also why I can't stand being friends with them, because you'll be getting silly,
some very passive things said, again, because I think it's not said from a place of hate.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's actually said from because they are very will I say curious? They're asking, but I don't want to talk about Nigeria.
Yeah.
I can't meet you, and 30 minutes into our conversation, I've been talking about Nigeria. And it's not like we're talking about jollof fries or we're talking about music. We're just talking about the Please, if you want to learn about Nigeria, there's Wikipedia. Almost everything you need to know is on Wikipedia. Just the first page, you know everything. So am I talking to you about it? I'm not a history teacher for crying out loud. And to be honest, actually from this conversation, I've actually realized I know more about Nigeria than I thought I did. So I'm thinking, like, Victor, why did you learn this? Have you always known this before? I'm like, no, please. Interest me, focus what about? We've been nagging, we've been ranting. But it's not a bad thing too. But I think it's part of the conversation. Now that you mentioned that you became radicalized when you got here, and also mentioned that you realized that you were no longer in the same, you don't share the same mindset with your friends. Is there anything particularly that prompted it? Or was it just something that maybe you've always had all this mindset?
It has always been there.
And you felt it
has always been there. It's just that growing up in Nigeria, you cannot ask questions. You cannot. Like, everything is swept under the rug.
True.
You cannot. When I was in Nigeria, I don't think I was in a place where I could just ask anyone question and we could talk about things. It's always just, everyone just tries to be cool, like, why are you trying to...
Why do you want to know too much?
Why do you want to know too much?
Yeah.
So when I came here, I had a lot of time because I was just learning German for the first 2 years. So I was just like, just researching this topic. So many things started making sense to me. Religion, feminism, racism, just social issues in general.
Yeah.
And I'm someone that, like, I also want my friends, like, I want all of us to be on the same wavelength when it comes to these topics. So with them, it wasn't that way, especially when it came to religion, because Nigerians don't like it when you're an atheist. A lot of people are not open to that. So I think that was like something that...
You're not allowed to question religion.
You're not allowed to question religion, which is kind of crazy to me. Like, questioning religion doesn't mean that you would be irreligious after the questioning. It's just a normal thing to do, to question your beliefs. So I think the atheism part was kind of like too much for them. Not just them, like I still meet people that once they know, I'm talking about Nigerians, once they know that I'm an atheist, it's like, oh, it's too much for them.
Yeah.
They can't handle it. But every other thing is okay. But you see this atheism one,
this is where we draw the line.
Like, I think that's where most Nigerians draw the line.
No, sexuality.
Oh, yeah, sexuality. Yeah. Thank you for mentioning this, because I feel like what actually made me fall out with a lot of them was because they were homophobic. And I don't want to open my WhatsApp and check your status and you are making a joke about gay people. I don't like saying these things. So it's like me protecting my space as well. Like, yes. I don't want to be seeing homophobic jokes on your status, for example.
Why?
Like, you just see someone making, out of nowhere, out of nowhere, no context, they'll just make it. And to be honest, and when I call them out, they'll start saying...
They don't see it.
And it's like you are hitting a wall.
They don't see it.
So it's best to just not be friends with them again, because it's like, we cannot agree on these things. So if we cannot agree on it, we can't be friends. Even now, I still do the same thing. Like, if I found out you are homophobic, I cannot be friends with you. It's just what it is. Like, I can't handle that kind of hate.
I totally understand. I mean, for me, growing up, I had a lot of questions, especially with religion. You hear some certain stories in the Bible and you're like, but this doesn't add up. And I ask the questions, and nobody seems to want to answer.
Yeah.
Everything they do is try to run around everything but answer the question. And like yourself, for me, I also didn't see a lot of people who shared the same sentiment as I did. I think until social media happened.
Yeah, social media.
Where I began to find that I wasn't the only one asking these questions. I wasn't the only one that questioned things. And I think I began to make friends with people that I think share the same views as myself.
It's very important.
It's exhausting.
Yeah,
you have a friend and you're always arguing with them.
Thank you. Like, when I tell people that I can't stand arguing about this conversation, because I think I'm someone that if I'm getting to know you, I want to know what you think about this topic, because I don't want to be surprised one day.
True. I do ask the questions too.
I don't want to be surprised. Like, when I'm talking to people, I want to know what do you think about the
certain
LGBTQ
things.
community?
What do you think about racism? What do you think about
because
gender issues?
Yeah, gender issues.
Because like you, I wouldn't want to be talking to somebody and they call a woman a bitch in my presence. I would want to fight them.
Exactly. It's like protecting your space. Like, let me be in my bubble. I know most Nigerians don't like these things, but I want my bubble.
Can I have those people that share the same sentiments?
Yeah, this is exactly this is how I live.
And there's this person
I just want to live in my bubble.
This person I met recently, and we exchanged contact. This person posted something I considered homophobic, but like you said, talking about it is like hitting a wall, because where do you start from? And generally, I've decided I'm not going to teach anybody anything. I can't burn that energy. You have to learn it yourself. You have to learn, because for me, again, it's not so much about, let's forget, I know your Bible says it's wrong to be gay, to be lesbian, to be transgender. It's fine, I agree, your Bible says it. But your Bible didn't say disrespect these people, which is just a basic thing.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on to your Bible that says this is wrong, but can you accord these people some human decency? And then this person keeps on ranting about queer people, and I was like, and he always complained about meeting them. I'm always like, why are you meeting a lot of gay people? I didn't ask him, but I was wondering. You wouldn't believe that this person works in, I think, about a club that is LGBT plus, like it's a gay bar or club, I can't remember.
Wow.
And I'm like, hold on a minute. So you wake up every morning, you dress up, or maybe in the evening, I don't know what their shift looks like. You go, you are attending to customers who are lesbian women, who are gay people, who are transgender people, in a place that is supposed to be for them. Not part of your brain thoughts, because there's actually a day this person posted some conversation he had with some colleagues, and it was talking about how this person was a nice person. So basically, you're meeting nice people who are very human like you, but not part of your brain thoughts. Maybe I should question my homophobia. So he's meeting people, he talks about some of the people he meets, but then sprinkles some homophobic thoughts in it. I'm always like
bigotry doesn't make sense.
Aren't you annoyed? Because I've done customer facing jobs, and I know if I hate a customer, I don't want to attend to them. So how can you hate the people but you attend to them every day? Are you not losing your mind? Okay, quit the job now. I actually wanted to tell you, but I'm like, first of all, I don't know this. I don't even know. I met him on social media, so I don't even know his last name. I don't know if the name I knew him as is even the first name. So how will I start teaching you? And for me, I just took myself away from it.
Teaching people is like teaching Nigerians. It's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
Because you'll be saying A, they'll be saying B. Especially like on these gay issues, because it's something that I'm kind of a little bit passionate about. I might not show it on my social media, but like in real life, I am actually. And I think what pisses me off about theists is the fact that they will always come for gay people. Like, whenever I go on Twitter, there is something, like, every week, there is one tweet.
There's a tweet. It's always something.
Always about gay people, like the fixation, the obsession. But then these same people, they fornicate, they make jokes about sex. On this same Twitter we are on, but they draw the line.
When it comes to... They can actually forgive an atheist, but just do
They used to come for us, but I think
they can forgive atheists, but they would not. Once you're not straight, there's a line. A fucking clear line. Like that line is always very clear. So I think we have to conclude.
Yeah.
So talking about how you realize that you become radicalized. Now let's talk about your parents, your mom, because I know the mother's always the one that at least dictates it on time and reacts more to it. So how have you been able to navigate having a parent that maybe still holds some of those views that you question?
For my parents, my mom particularly, she's the one that is religious. To be honest, I think for my parents, it wasn't surprising because, like I said,
you've always asked questions.
I've always asked questions. I've always been the one that's like, maybe you tell me to do something and I'll be like, oh, why should I do this? So I've always been someone that is questioning. And when they realized that, oh, I'm an atheist, it didn't really come as a surprise to them. And I don't think they care that much, to be fair. Of course, they would want me to be a Christian, but like, they cannot do anything. And I don't think it's because they are here. I think even if we were in Nigeria, they wouldn't still care. Because I've heard from other Nigerian atheists, like, the fact that they have to hide it from their parents. And I think it's really sad that they have to hide that part of themselves. But I don't know, my parents, they don't really care that much. I think their own perspective is that I'm an adult now, and
you can take care of yourself.
Yeah.
think that makes sense. About your siblings. Have you ever had any conversation about to explore their views on certain things?
No, not really. But I know my sister is a little bit like me.
Okay.
Which is interesting because my mom, she thinks I'm the one telling her
things to do.
But I'm not, because I'm rarely at home.
Yeah.
So I think maybe my sister, but my brother, no. Like, I don't really have these conversations with them because I'm always like, they'll figure things out. They'll grow, they'll figure things out, just the way I did.
For me also, I think, because I think all my siblings know that I'm very vocal about gender issues, LGBTQ issues, and all of that. But again, they are mostly older than I am. I only have 2 younger sisters. And also the thing is, I've never had these conversations with them, but one of the things that is reassuring to me is that I knew we were raised by the same parents. My parents fundamentally are kind people. They are nice people. So I also know that my siblings would not intentionally do anything that would hurt someone. I'm very convinced about that. And also from my conversation with my siblings, I also know that they at least, maybe not necessarily advocates, but I know I've not heard them speak about women, my brothers especially, in a way that is disrespectful, thankfully. So I think maybe that's why I've never really had that conversation. But also, but I know that they know for a fact, because I'm always like, nobody should say this kind of thing. When people do it on TV, I'm always like, no, this is improper. I complain about it all the time when I see any kind of. So I think they know. But I never thought I've sat down with them to try to evaluate their points of views about several things. But I respect the fact that I don't think I treat people better because I'm a better person, because someone taught me that, which is basically my parents. I don't think I never witnessed my parents disrespect people just because of who they are. They will disrespect. So I think my siblings are kind of good in that aspect. But I think we have to conclude, and it's also important. I think you're fortunate also to have parents that give you that room to explore the life you want.
I think Nigerian parents should do that. Like, let your kids be their own people.
Do you have gone? How do you intend to enforce it?
Because I've had stories of Nigerian parents just not letting their adult kids just be themselves. It's very important that once your kid is maybe 18 or they are an adult or they can think, just let them be, because most of the time you actually know what's best for you. I know people say your parents know. No, I actually believe that you know what's best for you. Even though you make mistakes along the way, it's normal. It's part of life.
Part of life.
If you make mistakes,
I don't know about parents know what's best for me. My parents don't know what's best for me. No, the truth is they want what's best for me, but they don't know what's best for me.
Yeah, true. I was telling someone the other day, they were advising me or something. They are much older, and I told that person that, look, what you're saying is right, but I'm going to do it my own way. And if I make a mistake, I'll still try to do it in another way. But I'm not going to listen to you just because you are older and you have more experience than me in
this kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I told that person, and
please tell me they got angry.
They didn't get angry. Okay. They actually took it lightly, and I'm so glad they took it lightly, because I just wanted to let them know that, hey, stop telling me to do this because you're older.
Yeah. Okay, so let's quickly conclude. Now, based on your experiences living in Nigeria as a teenager, I don't know if any teenagers are listening to my podcast, but I'm hoping that, let's say, if a parent who is trying to move their teenage children, what do you think they should have in mind? What do you think that teenager should also have in mind that would help them maybe adapt easily or get used to their new environment?
Wow, I haven't thought about this.
Okay.
To be honest, I haven't thought about it. Well, honestly, this is a hard one.
You don't have to have an answer.
This is a hard one, to be honest, because it's something I haven't thought about. But I think what helped me was researching a bit about Germany.
Okay.
And for the parents, I would say be there emotionally for your kids. It's very, very important in that first few months, because it's
it's all new to them.
They have no friends. Be there for them. yeah, like everything doesn't have to be about schooling or getting into or making money. Like the emotional aspect is very important. Yeah, I think that's actually the only advice I have, because moving to a new country, it does a lot on your mental health. You don't have your friends, you don't have like that togetherness that you used to have back in Nigeria. So I think one thing they should do is just to be there for their kids emotionally. Yeah.
It's a good thing you mentioned.
Yeah.
Do you know when I moved to Australia newly, I just knew that I don't want to cry. There's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
But I just knew that, because I sat down and was like, what's the problem? I just knew that it was like pent up emotion that I cannot explain, because it's overwhelming.
It's very overwhelming.
And I imagine for a teenager who is again in a very delicate situation where they are trying to find themselves, it's going to be very useful to have parents who are really there to support you.
Yeah.
I think that really brings us to the concluding part, the end of this podcast, even though we ended up ranting. But it's fine. I mean, it's one of those things. Again, this rant is part of the things we've experienced in this week, so I think it all adds up. So thank you very much for joining me, Manuela. Hopefully we should do something like this in the future.
Yeah,
maybe when we
nice
talk more about your
your
experience and rant less.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining me.
No problem.
Alright, if you've gotten to this part, of course, that means you followed through. Thank you very much for listening. It's really nice knowing that you are always listening to my podcast. And do subscribe or follow on your most preferred podcast listening platforms. And share with your friends, tell everybody that you know that could be interested in the podcast. Do enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.